Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell, and Noah Fleischman is back with us for today's show. We're here to talk some Wolfpack baseball. NC State starts its ACC Tournament run this week with a Wednesday night game in Charlotte at the beautiful Truist Field, one of the most beautiful ballparks I've ever seen. The Wolfpack, 32-19, 18-11 in the ACC, are extremely hot right now, Noah. They finished the season on a super high note, winning 5 of their last 6 against 2 top 10 opponents in UVA and Wake Forest. So super fun finish to the season for NC State. You were there covering it all. It's all on the wolfpacker.com, which leads me into our little bit of housekeeping notes before we really dive in to this tournament bracket. We're both reporters for the wolfpacker.com. That's NC State's site on the On3 network, the fastest growing college sports website out there. Right now, it's only $1 to join the wolfpacker.com for access to all of our premium analysis, recruiting scoops. If you want to read Noah's thoughts on every game or join the conversation on our message boards, you can for just $1 for your first month on the wolfpacker.com. Go check it out. It's never going to be cheaper. And it's a great time to join it. We're diving into the baseball postseason. Recruiting is going to heat up big time over the next month or so, and it's a fun time to be on the site. We've grown a really fun community there, so encourage all of you to go check it out. And that's the wolfpacker.com. All right, Noah, let's talk some baseball. I think we're going to spend most of today's episode talking about the Wolfpack baseball team, and we'll get into a little bit of recruiting maybe towards the end of the show. But Noah, you've been covering this team the whole season. You've been following along with their run. I just want to get a gut check. How are you feeling about NC State's, trajectory? Just kind of gauging the temperature here on the Wolfpack headed into their ACC tournament run.
Feeling pretty good. They're playing their best baseball they've played all year in the last month, and that's what you want. They're peaking at the right time. They're probably the hottest team in the ACC going into the tournament this week in Charlotte, and they're doing it with a banged up roster. They've battled illness, they've battled injury all year, and somehow, some way, they're the 3 seed in Charlotte. Have one of the best resumes in all of college baseball. When you look at what they've done in the weekend series, they've won 5 ranked series in league play, split one at Florida State. They only put 2 games there with rain canceling the middle game. And this is a team that's playing well, and it's a totally different team that played at the beginning of the season in non-conference. It's a totally different team that got swept by Georgia Tech and Louisville. This is a team playing really hot baseball, beating the best teams in the country and proving that they are one of the best teams in the country. And I'm sure we'll dive into it, but if Elliot Avent could, cook up a roster and make it work until they got to this point of the year, I think he would be really happy with what he has. And he's talked about it. No team has ever, that he's coached in his 28 years since NC State, has ever battled this much attrition, adversity, and then yet be able to come out on the other side looking really good with a winning record in league play at 18-11 in one of the best baseball leagues in the country.
What a testament to this team. I mean, you mentioned the injuries, man. Like it's a laundry list of just like it seemed like the worst possible moments. A player would get hot, then they'd have to miss time, and it was just happening over and over again. And it was a really tough run for the Pack there. But I mean, what a testament to the coaching staff. What a testament to the players for some of the younger guys stepping up and making plays because, like you said, they're probably the hottest team in the ACC right now. They're definitely a popular pick to win the tournament this week if you just look around social media. And, they're climbing up into, I think they're 12th in one of the polls and top 10 in another. And it's like, all right. This is about where I think Wolfpack fans hoped the baseball team would be at this point of the year, right? And now we get to see where it goes from there. It was not the path I think anyone expected, but no, correct me if I'm wrong. But this is about where the preseason expectations were for this team, right?
Yeah, D1 baseball, then preseason number 13. They're number 12 at the end of the regular season. Pretty consistent on where the expectation was. They fell out of the rankings earlier this year. They climbed their way back in. They've surged up the charts, and they're in a really good spot. RPI sitting at 14 after a sweep over Wake Forest over the weekend, which is a very big win for them. Taking 3 games from the Demon Deacons a year ago, played in the Men's College World Series in Omaha, played well. They've got the best pitcher in college baseball in Chase Burns. NC State was able to beat him on the mound with Dom Fritton, a sophomore starter. They were going toe-to-toe with him. He didn't get the 13 strikeouts that Chase Burns had, but he was able to keep zeros on that Saturday game, and that's really what it allowed NC State, I think, to really push through and take the series. They knew that Friday game was important because Saturday was going to be a tough one. They pulled that out, and then after that, they played another draft prospect in Josh Hartle, on the mound for Wake, and were able to score 5 runs on him and really get going. So this team's playing well, Ethan, and what that sweep did was it won a pod for them. They're at the top of a pod going in this week with Pool C. They'll play Virginia Tech and Duke. They avoid playing at Wake Forest again. They avoid, some of these teams that are really good. Obviously, Duke's a really good team, but they avoided, not having the advantage of being a number 1 seed in the pod, which we'll talk about and what the advantages are. And they have that now going into a very crucial week for their seeding in the NCAA tournament. They went from a team that was fighting for a hosting spot to now looking like, could they make the top 8?
Yeah, and we'll dive into more of like the NCAA tournament implications here. But first, I want to fully break down how the ACC baseball tournament works, because simply it's a little confusing. If you've never watched the ACC baseball tournament, the way they format with the pods and who advances and how all of it works, it's a little bit confusing. So Noah, I feel like we did this a lot with the net. We're going to have you just put on your, I don't know, a mathematician hat, your scientist hat, whatever. And I'm going to have you break down how this works, because NC State's in Pool C. They're going to play, like you said, number 6 seed Duke and number 10 seed Virginia Tech. It's a round robin sort of thing. So all the teams are going to play. And then the team with the best record advances to the semifinals, which are going to take place on Saturday afternoon. Noah, from what I understand, there's a path where one of these games might just not matter for the pack. So break it down. Why? First of all, why is it like this? Why is there a potential meaningless game for the Wolfpack in May? And what's the pack's path to that semifinal on Saturday?
Yeah, the ACC has a really odd format tournament. You see a lot of conference tournaments just doing double elimination. You get two games, you lose, you're done. This one is, first of all, there's 14 teams in the ACC that play baseball. Only 12 make the tournament. The bottom 2 don't get the trip to Charlotte. That was Boston College and Notre Dame. Everybody else gets to go to Charlotte this week and play. And what they do is they take them, as you said, they divide them into 4 different pools. And they seed them 1, 2, 3, 4. And NC State has a 3rd seed in Pool C. Then they keep going down the list. So you just go down and fill it out the other 2 teams based on the ranking or based on the standing. So the team in Pool A, UNC, has the easiest field. Virginia in Pool D has the toughest just based on parity of the standing. But here's where things get weird. If every single team in the pool goes 1-1, the tiebreaker goes to the best team in the highest ranked team or the highest seeded team in the pool. So NC State example, today on Tuesday, Duke and Virginia Tech play tonight. Whatever team wins that game is the only team NC State needs to beat to make the semifinal. Because if it lets, say Duke beats Virginia Tech, Duke's 1-0, Virginia Tech's 0-1. NC State plays Virginia Tech on Wednesday. If they don't need to throw their best arms because they can afford to lose. Virginia Tech can go to 1-1. NC State could go to 0-1. Play Duke. If they were to beat them, they'd be 1-1. Duke would be 1-1. Virginia Tech would be 1-1. Then the tiebreaker goes to the highest seed, and NC State would get it based on that. So it's really an advantage in knowing, first of all, who you need to beat.
Yeah.
And you can game it by not throwing your best arms in a game that you don't need to win. Obviously, a team like NC State, this meaningless game will still probably impact their chances of their seeding in the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And a win would be really good. Don't think you're going to ask Elliot Avent, are you throwing a game? No, they're not going to throw it. They're going to try to win. Everyone tries to win a game. But you might not trot out your Friday night guy, your Saturday night guy. You're going to save them for that game you need to win. And then you have a better arm going into Saturday's semifinal. So it's really all strategy-based gamesmanship. NC State's coaching staff will be watching the game tonight. to figure out what they want to do. But one thing about this NC State team is they've got depth in the pitching staff, even though it's been banged up. Shane Van Dam has a torn UCL. He's done. Matt Willison, had a torn UCL in the preseason. He's done. They're without two of their better arms, and yet still have an opportunity to win a game by throwing a bullpen game with freshmen and sophomores, saving their better bullpen arms for the second game maybe, or whatever game they need, and then for the weekend as well. So it'll be interesting. A lot of gamesmanship, and you'll see this with other teams doing this too. I mean, Carolina will be in the same boat. Clemson's in the same boat, and Virginia. They can all basically see who do they need to beat, and then you see the different strategies that play from there. So wouldn't say a team's not going to try to win. They're obviously going to – you like to go 2-0.
Yeah.
Take the momentum. But it's not the end of the world if you lose that game that you're throwing your arms that aren't as used as much.
And it's kind of interesting because, they haven't played Virginia Tech this year, their opponent on Wednesday. It's one of, two teams, I believe, in the ACC that they didn't get to play this year. But they're
1 of 3. I think they didn't play the bottom 3 teams that are in the ACC. But they did play Boston College and Notre Dame, who didn't make the ACC tournament. So I know there were people talking about NC State had a tough schedule. They did, but they also did play the 2 teams that didn't get the trip to Charlotte.
For sure. So they've never played Virginia Tech, but they're the 10 seed. They should be able to be in it, pitching. Like you said, a bullpen game, right, and saving your aces for Duke on Thursday there. So we'll see how that all unfolds for the Pack. But let's talk NCAA tournament. You mentioned potentially reaching the top 8. Obviously, that would be awesome for the Pack. Host deep into the tournament if you keep on winning. I'd say it's pretty safe to say they're locked into hosting a regional regardless of what happens, right, Noah?
Yeah, they should be with what their resume looks like. There's nothing a guarantee with the NCAA. We've seen this in every sport and anything the NCAA does. Nothing's ever a guarantee. But NC State should have hostings locked up. I think the thing that really secures it is 1 win this week. Doesn't matter who you beat. They get 1 win in Charlotte. Should be fine.
Yeah, so, that's exciting. That'll be a fun time for NC State's program. You'll be able to host a regional. Securing a top 8 seed would be even more cool. And Noah, thanks to this strong finish to the season, it seems like there's a path to that exists now.
It does. It's a tough one, and Elliot Avent talks about it because you got to jump some teams that are in front of you. Some of them, it's going to be hard to catch just because of the leagues they play in, the RPI they have. NC State sits 14th in the RPI. Great spot to host. But obviously you want to make the top 8. The committee doesn't use the RPI as the end-all be-all. It's one of the metrics they use. Just because you're 14th in the RPI doesn't mean you're going to be 14th seeded in the NCAA tournament. That just is one metric they use. The only path I really see NC State taking to lock up a top 8 seed is winning the conference tournament. They haven't done it since '92. Elliot Avent hasn't won the ACC tournament in his time at NC State. It's the thing that's been elusive for him. He's made 2 trips to the College World Series. Hasn't won a trophy though, it kind of pains him a little bit. He talked about it. He's been there 5 times, has never won the title game. He's been to the championship game 5 times, and hasn't been on the winning side. So he knows what it takes to get there. Trying to go over the hump this year, but I think winning the ACC tournament would do it, and I think that would lock up top 8 seed, which is important for playing a super regional at home, not having to hit the road and going to wherever the committee matches your region with next Monday.
Yeah, so let's talk about, like you mentioned, it would give Coach Avent a huge opportunity to win a trophy. Like you said, that's been elusive for him. I don't think anyone would dispute how great of a coach he's been for NC State, but I feel like it'd be, a crowning achievement for his legacy to go win an ACC tournament. I think it'd be huge. I think it's also worth putting out there, folks, that Noah, in his almost a year at the site, has never covered an ACC tournament where NC State didn't win. So, having him there, you should count him as your good luck charm as well for Charlotte. But it's going to be for NC State baseball, man, and it's going to be exciting to watch, see if they can get it done. I mean, shoot, this spring it's been twice now where you've gotten these two super exciting finishes to both the men's and women's basketball seasons and the baseball season as well. So another potential for another exciting ACC tournament run. We'll see if they can add another trophy to the trophy case. Noah, who would you say right now, just so folks know as they're getting prepared for the tournament, is their biggest competition? Who's a team, a matchup that you saw this year that worries you, that makes you think, all right, if they see this team and, if they get out of the group, they get to the semifinals, the finals, this team would be potentially a rough matchup for the Pack?
It's kind of funny because NC State's played well against all the teams that you
Yeah.
expect to make the weekend. They've beaten every single team that's a top 6 seed, top 7 seed, I think. Yeah, they of the top 7 seeds, they've taken series from 5 of them. The only one they didn't was Florida State because they didn't play 3 games. Florida State forgot to tarp the field and then got out of the game. So when you look at going to the weekend, it's going to be interesting the way with how the bracket comes out. But I think they'll line up with the winner of Pool B, which is Clemson, Louisville, Miami. Louisville's a team that swept them, but I wouldn't look too much into that. NC State didn't have 2 starting pitchers that weekend. Both of them are sick. Sam Highfill and Logan Whitaker. They're both back healthy. Highfill was third team all ACC selection this year. Pitched really, really well. Wouldn't be worried about them. So Clemson, I think, is the one that you're worried about. They were number 2 for a while this year. NC State took the first 2 games against them. If it lines up right, NC State should be able to throw Dom Fritton most likely against them, which NC State does well when Dom Fritton throws. So I think that they'll be all right there. And then you look at the title game, you're going to run into a Virginia or North Carolina, most likely, maybe Florida State, unless Wake Forest gets out too. They're in Carolina's pool, but Carolina's obviously been the best team in the league. NC State did win that series as well. So it'd be interesting. I would say that Florida State might cause the most issues of those 3. I think NC State's confident, though, in playing any of the top 6 seeds in the tournament. I don't think that's a worry. So it's kind of a weird thing to be in where you're like, I think they have confidence knowing they can beat anybody, which is a good place to be. But I'd expect them, tomorrow probably to throw, if the Virginia Tech game doesn't matter, throw a Ryan Marone to start. He was the midweek guy. He's been good at the bullpen for him. You get him to get you 4 innings, 5 innings maybe, and then try to keep him for the weekend and have him recover in time for a Saturday or Sunday out of the bullpen if they need him there too. So that's kind of where I think that lays out. But I don't think NC State's kind of too worried about who they see. They beat them all.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot here before we wrap up our baseball segment of the podcast. The ACC released its All ACC awards, and a few Wolfpack players received all conference recognition. Jacob Cozart, AMAC, Sam Highfill, and Garrett Pennington all made all ACC teams. Noah, if you had to pick from one of the stars on this team that could be their tournament, that they could go on an absolute heater and play a huge role in leading the Pack to an ACC title, who would you go with?
We'll go with 2. I'll go with a 1 position player, 1 pitcher. Well, we're gonna mix it up here. Alek Makarevich, first of all, should have been a first-team All-ACC selection. I mean, he leads the team in home runs. He leads them in RBI. He's a Dick Howser Trophy semifinalist. He's done it all. I think he kind of it didn't go his way. He was second-team selection. Pretty good for a guy in his first year in the ACC. I think that his bat will be really important this weekend, and getting to an ACC title. Just the way that this order hits, he's kind of right in the middle of it. Always guys in front of him, usually on the base paths, can drive him in and make it happen. Then pitching wise, a guy, Jacob Duden, he was named to the all freshman team. I think he is a guy that's going to be an X factor this weekend. He's been lights out for him all year out of the bullpen, leads them in bullpen innings pitched, appearances as a freshman, throws 95, 96, topped out at 98 against Carolina to get the save against the Tar Heels. So I think he'll be important too. Every bullpen pitcher is going to be important, but when you look at this team, freshmen have thrown over 60% of the innings. Freshmen and sophomores combined have thrown over 60% of the innings that NC State has this year, and he's really, really important. So those are 2 guys. Obviously, there's a team run through the whole roster, and everyone's going to have an opportunity to make their impact felt. But if NC State wants to win a trophy, those two guys are going to be playing really, really well.
Absolutely. All right, folks. That's all for the baseball portion of the show. Just as a reminder, State is in Charlotte. First game is Wednesday night at 7 p.m. So all games are on the ACC network. So go check it out. They'll be there. Noah will be on site with full coverage. So go check it out on the wolfpacker.com. After the break, we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting. But before we do that, I wanted to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace, whether you're looking for ACC baseball tournament tickets, whether you're looking for tickets to a concert, a Durham Bulls game, a comedy show, even if you're trying to get ahead of things and buy tickets to, NC State's game in Charlotte against Tennessee. You can do all of that on the Game Time app, or go on your web browser and look at gametime.co. That's not .com, that's .co. And, Noah and I are both big fans of the Game Time app. It's easy. They've really streamlined the ticket buying process, make it really easy. If I'm sitting, in the office on a Friday and I'm like, man, I want to go to a Durham Bulls game, I can buy a ticket and it takes me like 2 minutes. And there's great deals on the app. Right now, I pulled up a Durham Bulls game for this Saturday. And the best part about it is it shows you the view, like exactly the view from that you'd be seeing if you bought that ticket. I'll hold it up for those watching on YouTube. You can see really not a bad seat in that ballpark, but you can see the exact view from your seat that you'd be sitting in if you bought the ticket. It just takes a step out of the ticket buying process, which I appreciate. And to sweeten the deal a little bit more, right now, the cheapest ticket for this game is $13. So you can go on a bargain. And if you're buying a couple of tickets for folks, when you go to checkout, use code Wolfpack. That's all caps Wolfpack. And you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So super sweet deal. More incentive to go check out an app that I personally endorse and would highly recommend for anyone who just wants an easier ticket buying process. So go check it out. Game Time on any app store or on your web browser at gametime.co. All right, Noah, let's talk a little bit of football recruiting. I know what some listeners are probably listening to this thinking, hey guys, why are you talking about football recruiting? Signing day is 7 months away, almost exactly, actually. Well, the answer I have for you is June is the new December. The transfer portal and just the way official visits have worked out have totally shifted the recruiting calendar, man. So now you're looking at it, and NC State especially, they like to assemble the bulk of their class in June during these official visits. I mean, I'll tell you, they don't really take that many early commitments. They hold 4 commitments right now in the 2025 class, and that's quarterback Will Wilson, tight end Gus Ritchie, safety Tristan Teasdale, and defensive lineman Colby Cronk. So they have 4 commitments. I believe that's the same amount that they went into last June with. I might be wrong there, but it's close. They never go in with very many commitments into June, and then they're going to host over 30 kids on official visits in June, and that's critical. So we've shared the list. We've broken down how important these visits are, and we've interviewed most of these kids on the wolfpacker.com. So go check out all the recruiting intel on there. I did want to talk about Noah. I was in South Carolina all of last week, and drove down there, spent a couple days in Columbia. I was in Rock Hill, Gaffney, kind of just hopping all around the western part of that state. And it's a state that NC State's making a concerted push into. I feel like it really started when they recruited 4-star cornerback Brandon Cisse, who's now preparing to take on a big role as a sophomore at NC State. And since then, they've been recruiting the state really, really well. Signed Tank Boston and Christian Zachary out of South Carolina last year. And then, of course, the first recruit I saw last week was Will Wilson, NC State's class of 2025 quarterback commit. He's been committed for almost a year. And I got the chance to see him practice, man, and he was just really impressive. I've always been impressed with him as a prospect. You turn on the film and you're like, holy crap, this kid is a dynamic athlete. When he takes off, he's near impossible to catch, especially at his frame. He's already like 220 pounds as a high school junior. So he's going to continue to put on that weight. He was running track this spring and state qualified in the 4x4. So legitimate speed. But the best part about him, and the thing that his father, who's also his head coach, has stressed is, he's a passer first, and that's clear. Like he has a good arm, very very solid arm talent. Makes the throws that he's going to need to make when he gets to the collegiate level, and I think he's just continued to refine that more and more. I was really impressed when I watched him practice. He's a really good deep ball passer, especially, and I think he's continuing to make strides as a passer. That's going to really elevate his game as a senior and prepare him for when he arrives at NC State in January. But yeah, man, he was the main highlight of the trip. Just wanted to shout him out as someone who, you can never say someone is 100% locked in nowadays, I feel like, but I think Will Wilson is 99.99999% locked in, man. He's all in with the Wolfpack. He's recruiting hard to trying to get some of his buddies to join him in the class. I checked in with Mike Tyler is a tight end from Columbia. Malik Clark is a wide receiver from Rock Hill. They're both top priority prospects for NC State, and they and Will Wilson knows that. And with Malik, he's going to be on campus the same weekend for an official visit, June 21st through the 23rd. And I know NC State's working to get Mike Tyler on campus as well. So, Noah, football recruiting, it's going to get exciting soon. And so I just can't stress enough for those watching and listening, go check out thewolfpacker.com. I promise the info that we're going to have on there over the next month is worth the $1 for 1 month. Noah, you've been getting into recruiting a little bit. You've been diving into the basketball side of things some. And, you were at a cool event at Grimsley High School up in Greensboro, and you've been talking to some folks. And I wanted to, before we get out of here, mention the story you wrote on the impact of the men's basketball Final Four run on high school recruiting. So if you had to sum it up for us, in general, I feel like this is a quick tangent. You have to discount the impact of a single game or a single series of games that's going to on recruiting. Like, it's not going to have a life-changing impact. But no, a Final Four run, that can change the perception of the program. When talking to these kids, did you get that sense? Do you think things are different now than when the Pack, pre-March?
Yeah, it did. Team NC State hasn't been on the national landscape in a while in basketball. Just isn't. It plays in Premier Conference in the ACC, plays against Duke and Carolina and teams like that. Just hasn't found the success, and it did this year. 9 straight wins to get to Phoenix. Turns some heads. In the state, talked to a couple guys. Out of the state, talked to a couple guys, and everyone had the same agreement of it changes the perception of what NC State can do, and where these guys can see themselves playing. Obviously, we're a long way from signing day, and obviously basketball recruitment is picking up too with all the open sessions, whether it's on the Nike circuit, the Adidas circuit, the Under Armour circuit. But yeah, it did a lot for what NC State can offer, and it makes it easier to sell. And I mean, I've got a story coming out today about the transfer portal and navigating that too, and it also helped there. So I mean, the Final Four run, yes, it was a great experience for NC State to do, but it's also paying dividends a month and a half later now, which is, I think, what you hope NC State would have. And it's all about capitalizing on it. You look at these mid-majors that make it to the Final Four, and they capitalize in a big way. It helps kind of send the trajectory of their program to another level. You look at a Florida Atlantic, you look at a Loyola Chicago, you look at a VCU. There's programs you're able to capitalize the right way. When you're a high major program, it's a little bit easier. You've got the money already. The money it's obviously great, get the influx of cash from the Final Four, but it's more of getting to that upper echelon of recruiting. And NC State is some of the top kids in the country now, really thinking about them a little bit. I mean, I talked to Sam Funches, who's the top ranked center in the class of 2026, top 15 recruit. He said NC State was already on his radar a little bit, but that made him dive into it more. Cole Clower, one of the top 2026 kid in North Carolina, grew up an NC State fan. He's kind of intrigued a little bit more, even though there are other teams that are hot on him. And you look around the country, I mean, RJ Greer is a top, almost nearing top 100 recruit in 2025. he's got an official visit next month south for NC State. The Wolfpack was already in his top 3 before they even made the run. Now he's thinking about it even more. So it paid off in a big way.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. You have a story coming out later today, and that's the last thing I'm going to plug before we wrap up the show. Because Noah got an exclusive interview with Coach Keats. They talked about the transfer portal. They talked about the guys they have coming in, and really cool interview. Really looking forward to y'all seeing that. So again, I think that alone is worth $1 for the first month. So go check it out on the Wolfpacker.com, folks. We would really appreciate it, and that's all for the show today, but we'll talk to you soon. I think we're going to start getting the recruiting shows going a little more frequently over the next few weeks as official visits and camps start up. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to last week's show and left a like or subscribed off of that. Appreciate it. And we'll be back with that. We'll be back if NC State goes on a run and wins the ACC. We might have to tape another show, Noah. So we'll see you then if that all happens. And we'll be back on your YouTube and your podcast feed soon. And thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one.